gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Bad League, Bad Pod podcast. I'm Zach Fuller. I'm here with Ben Dunn. Ben, how are we this morning?
Pretty good. Pretty good start to the morning, Happy to get back here and talk about all the action on the track last night. Yeah, it was a good evening, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it was an interesting race at Homestead. Um, I think it played out kind of differently than a lot of people thought it would. You had a
Even at the
super,
beginning of the race.
yeah, you had a super eventful race, so I'll let you go
Oh,
first.
yeah. I started. I did the same thing 2 weeks in a row where I got loose on my qualifying lap, on my first qualifying lap, and at Homestead it's so important to get those big runs down the straightaway. So I got loose off of two, gathered up by the middle of the backstretch, and then just did what I could to salvage coming out of four. But it's never good when you start your second qualifying lap and you're losing time to your out lap.
Hmm.
That's never good. But I put down the best that I could. I started way in the back. I started 11th, and for the first bit of the race, I kind of just hung out where I was. I was trying to save tires, trying to see how I was saving versus others, and I didn't have the best results that I wanted. Like I was kind of not really coming through the pack. Like I said last week, it's a little difficult to come through the pack nowadays with everybody being better. So um, just did the best I could to salvage a good position. I believe I was the one that set off the early pit stops because I think I was the first one in, and I made up a little bit of ground with that. The caution came out. I got lucky. You and I were in a good spot there. We had just gotten our laps back, and the caution came out. And then I decided to stuff it in the wall when I had it up in the top, top seven, top six, and give myself a lot of damage. And again, back to back weeks of having to pit under green, take a fast repair, lose a lap. But then it all worked out in my favor towards the end somehow. Late caution got me back on the lead lap. I started with fresh tires back in like 10th place. Chaos ensued, and I somehow wound up in fourth. So I've been getting some bad breaks this year, and I finally got to steal one. So a pretty successful result for what was a pretty sloppy night for me, to be honest.
Yeah, fourth place is definitely really good considering all the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, my race didn't qualify super well, and then early on I decided to try something different than I usually do. Usually at the beginning of these races, I just go balls to the walls and try to lead a lap. Um, but I think I started in let's see here. I started in seventh, so
Seventh.
yeah, didn't really feel like I could get up there to the front without completely destroying the tires. So figured I would kind of take it easy, and I, I think that was the right call. However, I was doing it on the high side, on like next to the wall, and quickly figured out that that was not the place I needed to be because it was
Yeah.
really hurting the tires, even driving slow. So, um, that first caution that came out on, I don't know, what was that lap, like 40 or something? Um,
Yes, I believe so. I think that
yeah,
was, yeah.
that was kind of a reset moment for me. That was after that pit stop that you talked about. And yeah, I think you pitted, which brought Judd in, and then I pitted a lap after Judd because we all three
Yeah. And then
came out right next to each other.
everybody else kind of started funneling in as well. I felt like I
Yeah,
made a good call with that,
yeah,
strategy wise, just because I realized it wasn't worth it to keep going.
yeah.
I wasn't gonna, you weren't able to one stop it. It was definitely not going to happen.
No,
So I was, well, you know what? I'd rather pit, have a long middle run, and then throw some tires on it and try to haul ass late. Like if we were going to stay green, that was my intention. Was
yeah,
let me just go in and I'll run the tank absolutely dry, which would have gotten me like lap 95, 96 or so. And then I would have just, you would just thrown a set on and had 30 laps to just get after it and try to make up as much ground as you could. Given where I was and how I was running, I mean, average running position of 12 and a half for me, I was like, you know what, I need to just pit. I need to take a risk. I had to get away from other cars. I was in dirty air the entire beginning of the race,
yeah,
so that was another thought of mine. Was like, let me just get some clean air where I can just go run some laps and let things unfold and see if I can make some time up.
yeah. I think that was pretty much my thought too, is because I was just hemorrhaging time. I mean, to everybody, because what I was doing was not gonna work, so I needed a new set of tires, and I was gonna try something different. And then after that caution, I pretty much had to learn how to run the bottom like on the fly because I did all my practice around the top, just because
Hmm.
it felt good. But then once you get in the race and you're comparing to everybody else, you can see it's not working. So
And dirty air as well.
yeah, the dirty air
Really,
was
really got us.
really bad
Yeah.
last night. The worst I've probably ever felt in this car, which is weird because um, I mean this car is usually not super affected by it, but it was definitely a thing last night. On the long green flag run we had at the end, um, it was Owen, Jack, and Dylan in front of me, and I was hanging with Jack and Dylan for a little bit, but I could tell they were definitely faster. Um, but I was just running the bottom, and I was kind of in no man's land for a little bit, and then Christian and Donnelly and Nick,
That whole group
yeah,
caught up to
they
you.
caught up behind me, and they were behind me right on my ass for like 25 laps and just could not get around me. I could tell they were
Yeah, I
faster,
remember you
but
saying that at one point.
yeah, they were much faster, but the dirty air was just really bad. And Donnelly got a few runs, and he made it close. I think he actually may have passed me once, but um, he like got a bad run, so I was able to get him back. But it was really tough to pass, and I was able to hold that fourth place for a while. Then we had the couple cautions at the end, and we were three wide with Owen and Brandon on the final lap, and Owen got loose and got up into Brandon, and that basically gave me third. So um,
Yeah,
I think third place is a good result because I probably had fourth or fifth place pace. So I'll definitely take it. We had the same
yeah.
podium from last week, which is frustrating for the
You
points, but um, third place is still good. So happy with
But
that.
you talk about that group before we get into our winner and our top five. That little group too. I was very frustrated at the point where I was with you guys because I felt like I was about eighth or ninth in speed. Like I didn't think I was crazy fast if we were staying green. I felt like I had a
Hmm.
little bit of short run speed because I did do some practice on the bottom. The only reason I did that practice was because my intent was to start my runs, 15, 20 laps on the bottom and then move up. Because typically when it's warm and it's hot, if you can do that, you can kind of nurse your tires those
Yeah.
first 15, 20 laps. And then when you go to move up and people who have already moved up, they're already worn and you have a little bit more extra left on there. So like I had a little bit of practice on the bottom. I felt okay. Once the whole thing moved to the bottom, I felt like I was faster than a lot of people. So I wound up, at the point where I was in what would have been like eighth, running at the tail end of the little group you're talking about,
Hmm.
um, in a spot where, I'm 16th. I'm a lap down because of my incident and pit for a fast pair. So I was very frustrated because I'm sitting here like I have the speed to be eighth, ninth, kind of what I expected, nothing crazy, but here I am. I'm out of the points. I was begging for someone to spin every 5 seconds in our chat. I just kept saying the word spin over and over again because I just needed something.
Yeah.
Um, so I got lucky to get that break there, and I got lucky dog take some tires, and yeah, like I said, I think I was 10th or so on that final restart. And one of the craziest moves I made was on the last lap on the green white checker. I want to say I'm not 100% sure. I went back and looked, but I think I went four wide on the outside of one and two. I think it was Bender, Drift, and then it might have been like Cody or someone else that was below me. But like, dude, the white flag, I just sent it in one and two, and ran as fast as I could up on the high line. Got a huge run. Then that wreck happens, and so I managed to jump 6 spots in one lap. It was pretty, it was pretty chaotic, pretty wild, but a good turnout for a lot of guys, including Dylan Hoffman, bringing home the
Yeah.
win last night. Second win in a row. Just a good little hot streak. We were going to have him on. He's doing some work this morning.
Okay.
So, we are unable to have him on, but yeah, just a great drive by him. I mean, I think he said it himself to me and as well to everybody else that he felt like one of the best drives that he's ever had. So
Yeah.
uh, good on him to put that performance together and complete that win. Him and Jack sounded like they had a little battle. I know they ran down Owen at one point on the long run
Yeah.
to take the lead. So those two were just they were locked in our chat. They didn't say a word, and they're racing each other super hard, not even saying a word. So uh, good stuff on Dylan's part to go get that win. Back to back wins. It kind of makes you think. I feel like he for sure, if he was here, he would tell us he definitely wants a couple races back from earlier in the season because I think the championship could be a lot closer than it is with how Dylan's been running lately.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm second in the points, but Jack and Dylan have really been like the class of the field this season, and
Yeah.
I was right behind them on that long run, and Owen got a big gap, pretty solid gap, and then those two started to chase him back down, and Dylan was right behind Jack the whole time, like right behind his spoiler, and somehow he still managed the tires better. Like the dirty air didn't didn't do anything to him. I mean,
Mhm.
he was right up his ass for 25 30 laps, and then he got around Jack and he started to pull away from Jack, and they both passed Owen. So, um, yeah, that long run was just an absolute clinic from Dylan. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, back to back
Yeah.
wins.
Great.
Second time this season, back to back wins. He
I,
won
I'm
Auto
getting.
Club in
I, th-
Martinsville.
he's kind of got like a 2025 Blaney thing going on where like I could argue he could be maybe the best driver in the field right now with the last two performances and the last couple times that he's been here and just never had the results early on to keep him in that points race and to reflect how good he's actually driven all season.
Yeah,
But yeah, just a great drive for him. And like I said, he keeps saying it's one of his best drives ever. And all the numbers don't lie. He's our highest rated driver,
mm,
led 21 laps, second most to Owen, who led a lot of laps and dominated pretty early.
yeah,
Um, but uh, but yeah, just a great run for him and a great win to beat Jack by 3/10 of a second, a little over 3/10 of a second. So a close finish here, and you were only 7/10 of a second. So close 1, 2, 3, for sure coming to the line. Dylan pulls it off.
yeah. And Jack, I still don't really understand how he got back up to second because he sped um did we have two overtimes or was it just one? We had two, right?
No, no, it was like one that was gonna be it was gonna be like a almost natural, and then it became no. There was one. I'm sorry, we were gonna have like 6 or 7 laps left, and
Oh,
that was when
right.
Jack
Okay.
sped on that first one. With like 6 or 7 to go, he sped because I restarted back with him,
Gotcha.
and that was when I got my lap back. That was when I was lucky dog. So I was back there with him, and then I tried to follow him as much as I could through that first bit, and I think we got from like I think I restarted that in like 12th or 13th, and we got up to like he got up to like 8th. I was up to that's when I got up to 10th, and then he just drove his ass off on that green white checker to get
Yeah.
up to second, I guess.
I mean, entering the third turn on the green white checkered on the first lap, Jack's on my inside. And I'm like I said over the radio, I
Yeah,
was like, "Why where did you come from? How are you up here?"
yeah,
Um
yeah,
and yeah, so he must have just been carving through the field there. And to come back to second is really good. I mean, I thought that my recovery last week at Iowa was good, speeding with 30 laps to go, but he sped with like 6 to go and he got up to second. So um, that's there's a reason why he's leading the points, and um,
yep.
it's stuff like that,
Got
right?
another pole last night too, and
Yep,
our runner up. So not bad. And then, like you said, the podium's still the same as last week. So yourself brings home third place. You kind of already talked about how that journey went, but
yep,
a great finish for you there. I brought her home fourth. Think I already talked about myself as well. So
yeah,
the rare time where the were both in the top five, and we already talked about it. Um, and then bringing home fifth place, Zach Roten, who started I think 12th on the green white checker. He was
he
behind
was
me.
12th with one to go.
Yeah, he was 12. Okay, so yeah, so he was right behind me, and he rode the wall with me around 1 and 2 on the white flag, and that accident unfolded in front of both of us. He was I don't know probably like a half a second or so behind me, coming out of 2. We saw that chaos ensue. I gave a ton of props to Combs because he kind of got into the wall and he moved down the track and there was like a car width lane that I had to go through, and he did a great job of holding his lane and not getting up there and causing any more issues. I was able to skirt
Hmm.
by, rode and followed me right through it, and we bring it home fourth and fifth. So Exciting stuff for both Roten and I, who had some crazy up and down races to go out there and somehow manage to get top fives.
Yeah, I looked. This is Roten's fourth top five in his CRS career, and all four of them are on intermediate tracks, I believe. Which,
Damn. No, he had a second place at Daytona this year.
oh, okay. Well,
Yep. So that's got to be one, but still,
gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
you're. I think you're right about the rest.
Yeah, I think the other ones were like he had one at Auto Club last season, or
I mean,
I
dare I
think it was
say, most of them have come
Chicagoland.
from this season too. Like, I can think of at least two. This one in Daytona, and I'm sure there was another one in there from this season as well. So,
Yeah,
um,
lots of
we
improvement.
talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it all season. He's really turned it around and gotten things going. And I know last night might have been a little lucky, but hey, you got to be in the right position to make those pay off, right?
Absolutely. And then yeah, we kind of touched on it, but that what started the cautions at the end? Did Judd get spun out?
I think Judd just got himself loose off a corner. It sounds like was that first caution that came out that left us
Uh
with like
huh.
6 or 7 to go, and then the other one was the Owen incident that you kind of talked about where he got loose 3 wide. That's a tough spot to be in the middle of
Yeah.
3 wide, coming off two while we're on cold tires. They're not fully up to temp yet, and he just got a little loose and got into a couple guys, and then yeah, chaos ensued, and yeah, we all brought it home as well as we could, I guess.
Yeah, that's our second week in a row with a pretty large wreck changing up the order there on the last lap. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's not a trend that continues. But um, yeah, do you want to get into the standings?
Yeah, absolutely. We had some things got mixed up last night, I believe. It really threw a wrench into our, maybe not our top guys, but um, from I believe now the race for fourth to whatever is crazy.
Yeah,
So
you got Owen and
here,
Christian
grab it.
tied for fourth, which I mean, I know Owen is doing his normal mid-season thing where he says he's going to retire, but I really hope he doesn't because I want to watch this battle.
Yeah.
Those two are tied for fourth, and then 4 points behind them is Brandon Combs with 180.
Yeah.
He's got a win already. He's been up there competing for wins a lot. He was up there in the top four at the end of this race. He definitely could have went up there and stole it. So he's always a threat. And then a little bit further down is you got you and Donnelly, 8 points
Yep.
apart. You re overtook Donnelly there with your good finish and his kind of bad luck at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a finish that I needed too because I finished in front of all the guys who I was racing and I'm battling with in points. I finished in front of Combs, Christian, Donnelly. Those are kind of the guys right in my area that I'm battling with in the points, and I managed to get a good enough finish to be ahead of those guys. So it was much needed for me. Again, very lucky, but much needed for me to get those to try to start making up points on those guys and get myself in the mix for that fifth, maybe even fourth place spot. If Owen doesn't show up to any more races, could be
Yeah,
interesting to see where he'll fall, and then it seems like it could just be a battle between Christian, Brandon, myself, and Donnelly for that fourth place, fifth place range. So that could get very interesting to see what the rest of the season holds for us. Next week, is going to be a bit of a toss up. So um, yeah, it could be really, really interesting to see what's ahead.
yeah. I'm excited for next week because obviously the road courses a lot of times don't get the biggest turnouts, but when we have this many people like tighten the points, um, I think not only will we get a good turnout, but also like I feel like you guys will probably put a good amount of practice in, and we might like take the road course to another level here
Absolutely,
with
and
that.
and when I look at that stretch of five guys from fifth to ninth with Christian, Brandon, myself, Donnelly, and Judd, those are the guys that I also feel like I race with on these road courses. So
Right.
I'm definitely gonna be putting in some practice. And Watkins is probably the road course I'm most familiar with
Yeah.
and the best on, but I've made some mistakes there in the past and got myself into a hole just by overdriving and being silly. So I think I'm going to spend a lot of time practicing, just making sure that I really dial everything in, and don't make those mistakes, because I need to be around those guys and possibly beating one or two of them. And I think the best way for me to do it is just going to be to keep it clean and hope that you know I can get a good finishing spot and at least stand ground, or maybe make up a point or two. But yeah, those are the guys that I'm going to be looking at racing against pretty much the entirety of the race, or also the guys who are in that range of fifth to ninth. So it'll be a lot of fun, but it's going to take some work for sure to dial in Watkins Glen and make sure I don't screw anything up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Before we really get into Watkins Glen, I do just want to talk about like Owen's season a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
he has led the third most amount of laps. He's got the fourth
He's,
highest average running position.
mm,
Like, it's not like he's been nowhere. It just like it hasn't worked out late in these races, you know.
yeah, the results are just they're tough.
Um, and I mean, it's like we've got some good tracks for him coming up. Obviously, Watkins Glen, he and I usually have really good battles on these road courses. Um, so I hope he, I really hope he doesn't just like stop racing just because he's not
Yeah,
like winning. That's really lame. But um, I mean, he's obviously got the speed this season. It's just there's so much chaos at the end of these races, and the results just are really hard to come by.
the my fun regular season stats of the day is going to be another shout out to our two guys who snuck into fourth and fifth place. So if you look at the total passes statistics for the entire season 12, Zach Roten and
Mm,
myself are leading the way, 286, 281.
there you go.
A lot of that can maybe be attributed to us making mistakes and having to make up ground for it. But yep, that's my fun stat of the day, is total passes. And yeah, 286 leading the way with Roten. That's a lot. That's a lot of passes. Jeez.
Indeed. Um,
Yeah,
let's go
it's
ahead
a
and let's go ahead and get into Watkins Glen. So we got
exciting,
the
man.
yeah the new road course rules. You want to kind of review that? I know we've been over it, but
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just going to be the qualifying will be, I think it's a 15-minute qualifying session. It'll
yep.
be, we chase that realism where, you guys, we can't just stuff it in the wall, reset, head back out. You can't just put a lap down, park, get back in to the pits, get fresh tires magically, and then head back out. You got to really manage the car, maintain the car. If you want to go get new tires, you got to pull in and get new tires and get out. If you get a little damage, you got to pull in and get it fixed. Anytime you reset, you have locked in whatever time you have, and you are not allowed to run anymore. So qualifying, that seemed to be a lot of fun in Chicago. Put some stress on some people.
Yeah.
Specifically myself, it put my own rule, put pressure on myself more than I think anybody else. So that was smart. Uh, but but yeah, so that's always entertaining. And then when it comes to the race, we will have random caution thrown in the middle part of the race. Aaron has the system set up where it's just going to throw a random caution at any point. It seemed to mix things up in Chicago, create a little bit of a long late run. So we'll see what happens at Watkins Glen. If it happens early again, it could be interesting, or if it happens towards the end, or maybe in the middle of some pit cycles, it really could be interesting. So um, I think you're going to be good enough. I think it's just a one-stop race, so it's just a matter of, like we talked about going into Chicago. Are you going to try to pit and get that, get ahead of that, and maybe make some ground up when that caution comes out, or are you going to wait and hope that it happens a little later and benefit from that? So a lot of stuff to keep an eye on with that. It seemed to work well in Chicago, so hopefully we don't have any hiccups and things work well here at Watkins Glen as well. But this is a good track for us. A lot of our guys have a lot of experience here. I think this is like one of the few tracks that's been in just about every single season of CRS that we've done. There's only a small handful of tracks that have made an appearance in every season. Obviously, Daytona
Mm.
is one of them because it's our season opener. Probably Dega as well, but I think this is up there as well as a track that we've run in every single season.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I know we didn't do it in season one, but it was in season two. So other than in the modern era,
Yeah, we missed
in
there
the
was no season 5 and no season yeah, in the modern era, in the Super Bowl era, yeah, so
yeah,
no season 5, but other than that, it's been in every single season, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and now 12, so, yeah, pretty popular, 9 races, that we've ran there, and let's see, 4 different winners,
yeah,
16 lead changes, and 2 with a whopping 2 per race, which is probably just pit stops, so, um, we've never had a caution there. We've always had the rule that a pile up in turn one early on can bring in a caution. We still have never had to use it.
yeah,
Especially Watkins. I mean, kind of crazy with how short that front stretch is. However, how much everybody's just darting off the last corner and then having to brake hard down the hill. Um, you got a little bit of that runoff room there that I think we use for sure. But
yeah.
still, the fact that we have never had any issues in turn one or going it through the S's that cause big pileups is good on us, and I expect nothing but the same next week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be good. However, we do have that restart, right?
Yep, that's true.
That'll be a new one for us. This new rule kind of like it takes away the green flag strategy, but I think either way, if the caution comes early or late, you do get a pretty long green flag run, longer than you would
Hmm. Yeah.
um, with it just going green. So I'm a fan of that. Um, I'm interested to see how that goes on Watkins Glen, a track that, like we've been saying, you know, people know it. People are pretty good at it
Hmm.
compared to some other road courses, just because it's uh, it's like they call it the super speedway of road courses, right? It's super fast, and we just all have.
Crazy long, what,
Yeah,
eight or nine turns on the cup layout.
yeah.
Um,
It depends on how you count corners, but
10, 11. I think it is 11 actually.
if it's 11, that's a joke because I don't know. This is a pet peeve of mine that I have with racetracks. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like they count corners too liberally. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Watkins Glen
Yes.
has turn one, then the S's are 3, 4, and 5. Then I would
Yeah,
call the bus stop
S's
one
are 2,
corner.
3, 4. Yeah, so the bus stop doesn't even count. I'm looking at it now. They
See,
don't
but
even count the bus stop as a turn.
that is a turn. That's like, why do they not count that?
Yeah, so technically the carousel is number 5. Oh, it's you know what? It says 11. This is including the boot though. So still that would be 3, 4, 5, and then 6 would be the one to the left. 7. So 7 technically. And that's not counting the inner loop and counting all 3 of the S's, which 2, 3, 4, that makes sense. So, if you wanted to call it
I
what,
have it
4,
as 8.
5, 6, 7, 8. I
I
mean,
have
I could get to 11 if you count the inner loop as 3 turns.
yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, it depends on how you count it. I have it as 8. I have the bus stop as 1. They don't even count it.
Yeah, 1 turn. Yeah.
Um, you could count the bus stop as 1. You could count it as 3. You could count it as 4. But I think it's just one
Yeah, it
section.
is weird. Everything I'm clicking on here has the bus stop just not counting as a corner. That's wild.
I mean, I could
I
even
didn't
I
even
could
notice
even
that prior, to
call
be
it.
honest.
You could have like 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D. I'm
Mhm.
rarely okay with that, but I'm just give it something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have it as 8. Whatever. It. The point is, it's not a super long track. A little bit of a tangent
Yeah.
there, but
It's
yeah.
okay.
So guys know it, and yeah, I think we should have some good battles. I'm obviously hoping to get another win on the road course. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Um, that's the goal for everybody. But this is the one I think that Owen and I are the most are the closest on. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, given that he doesn't retire,
Yeah.
this will be a really good battle between us two.
Yeah, and so in our league career, just to wrap things up for just the road course racing in general in our league history, you have 13 wins on the road courses. Owen is at 11. 27 top fives for Owen to only your 18. You guys have a difference of he has 27 starts, you have 20. So good numbers for you there. He's got an average finishing position of 1.9. You were at 2.1. So you guys just in general seem to be pretty close on the road courses. So I expect that to be something to keep an eye on throughout the race. But um, you've been killing it lately. You're the highest rated average of guys outside of Jared, who's only done 9 road course starts For 20 starts, you're at a 130 to 7.9. So you're nearly perfect. Just about 10 or 11 points off of being perfect
Yeah.
on the road courses. So I think you just got to go out and do what you always do, and you're going to be just fine. I see 412 incidents here. I wonder if any of that's from Kodo. What do you think?
That's from all of them, man, because this is something that people in our league don't take advantage of, and
Yeah.
I think they should. There's no incident limit, so
Yep.
Watkins Glen is really the main culprit on that. Actually, I mean Coda as well.
Well, now the thing is, you got to watch out with turn one because there's a time penalty out there nowadays,
There's
which we didn't start the league having. That didn't exist for quite a few seasons.
it was there last season, and I was all over the
Yep.
runoff. There's a line on the wall out of two. There's an orange line, and that
Hmm.
is where the time penalty starts. So you can go all the way out there. It's like two or three car lengths past the curb. And then on the exit of the carousel, um,
That one's free game. You can go as far as you want.
yes, you can go as far out there as you want, but there's a little grass patch as well that you can cut across, and it's just like free time and free tire saving because you have to. It
Yeah.
makes the radius of the corner wider. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have a ton of incidents, and those are all off tracks. Which I think if we go to like the whole league stats, I'm probably pretty up there in incidents because of the road courses. But I don't know. I think people should take advantage of that because we don't have the incident limit. Like it's just free time,
Hmm.
and more importantly than the free time, because it's not that much time. It's saving your tires because the corner radius is bigger.
Yeah, making the
Um,
corner just a little easier on yourself, right?
and the tire saving is the biggest thing on the road courses. I actually just sorted by incidents, and I'm not as high up as I thought. Somehow Ron is ahead of me. He only has 83 starts.
Hmm.
Um,
It's impressive.
it is.
Um, you also have a fun fact I see here, which is just an astronomical number that is higher than any other person by like so. So Owen is in second place, and his number of fastest laps that he's had in his 27 starts on the road courses is 79. You have 20 starts, and the number of
Oh
fastest laps
wow,
that you've put down in the race is 209.
damn.
So, yeah, you just got to get out there and get after it. And I think you're going to be all right this week, man. You got a lot of stats backing you up there saying that you got a lot of 20, almost a quarter of the laps that you've ran have been a fastest lap in the race.
Damn.
So that's a pretty wild stat. Um, now that I just paid attention to that, I have 8 myself. I don't know how I did that, but yippee.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like I look forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and Watkins Glen's always a good time. So, um, you got any other CRS stuff?
No, I don't think so, man. I'm looking forward
I
to
don't think
the.
so either.
I always look forward to the road courses, but I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and
Um,
I just tried to hype you up there with some good stats headed your way. So don't let me down.
yeah. Hopefully,
There's my pick for next week, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy
I hope
pick.
I hope Owen comes out so we can have a battle. I I am like tempted if he doesn't show up to maybe like start from the back, but I don't know if that's too cocky.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
go
that's it.
go get you. Don't risk
But
anything
that's
like
more
that.
that's more of a fun race.
Now then it just looks like you're padding your total passes stats, which
True. Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
which hey, I have the lead in that. Okay, so let me
Yeah.
have
Well,
that. All
I got to
right.
catch you somehow.
Well, I mean,
Um.
you got to pass 34 people somehow, so I have quite a comfy lead on that. But that's because I'm always making mistakes and then running well, and then gaining those spots back. So
Yeah.
I hope to not increase that number a whole lot this week. I hope to just start, have a good race, have a good finish, and just get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Um. And I think you got a good shot for that because yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a close. It's gonna be a close one.
Yeah, I'm
Especially
not
kind of
bad on
like in
those,
that
but like I
midfield.
said, the guys that I got to race that I'm nearing the points are also the guys who I feel like I'm about the same skill level as, or they might be slightly better than me. But on any given day, I can really get it together and have a good run. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put in the practice, see how the car feels on the track, in those weather conditions, and just go from there.
It'll be a fun one. Yeah. Let's get into NASCAR.
Real
Um.
racing, huh?
Yeah, I was obviously
Well,
at the
yeah, let's talk
track.
about your weekend. I didn't have as exciting of a watch as you did.
Yeah, so got there Friday. It was a massive thunderstorm Friday morning. Um, it postponed. It actually canceled the truck and Xfinity practice and qualifying, which I was bummed about because we had truck Xfinity practice and qualifying, and then the truck race scheduled for Friday. So it was going to be like a whole day
Mhm.
of action. But the only action on the track was the truck race. So it stormed Friday morning and it stormed Monday morning. Saturday and Sunday were beautiful. So that's a rare
Yeah,
thing for
that
NASCAR.
looked really nice on Saturday and Sunday as well there. Yeah. I heard the weather was like perfect.
It was it could have been maybe like 5 degrees cooler, but um it was for me as a Texas person, it was perfect. For people coming out of town, they probably could have done with a little bit cooler, but
One and
um
I think you guys benefited greatly too from just like I think from a spectator standpoint, like more people are willing to come out in May when it's in the 70s versus when it's 105 out there. In
yeah.
what was the race? The race was like late in the year, right? Like August or something like that last year.
Last
Isn't
year
the
last year it
isn't
was
the playoffs?
April. Last year it was April. There was only one last year, but
Okay, all right,
usually there's kind of one in the summer ish and then one like in the fall for the
yeah,
playoffs. So
which sounds miserable.
yeah, a few of
Sounds like
those
you could
races.
get very hot.
I think it was 2 years ago. It was like they were selling ice down like cooling towels in the grandstands, and it was man, it was. I had my shirt off for that race because it was hot. Um, but yeah, we got super lucky with the weather as well. Like it was cooler than it usually is this time of year, to be completely honest. Like
Yeah,
um, it was
that's huge. I mean, the
we had a
crowd
little
looked
cold front.
amazing out there.
We had a little cold front come through. Yeah, it was. This is probably I started really going to Texas in like 2020. Um, and I've pretty much been every year for at least one race since then. And this was the most packed it has been by far. And I think only having one race really helps with that. Um, Also, last season the race was super chaotic, and I think people were entertained, and we got another kind of similar race to that this season. Obviously, Truck and Xfinity, the crowd wasn't super big, but you're gonna have that. But for the Cup race, I looked up in the grandstands and I'm like, man, that is the most packed I've seen it in my
Yeah, pretty cool.
yeah. But it was a fun weekend. Yeah, drank a lot of beer. We obviously Bush Apple just came out, so we got 90 of them, and they're all gone. Um, and
Rest
then
in peace.
yeah, and then we drank a ton of other beer, but that's not why people tune into the show. But it was a successful weekend from that standpoint. We were right on the infield, kind of right in front of the big Hoss screen, so we had a great spot. That was pretty much how we were watching the race, and then I had my headphones in for MRN, which was super helpful because there's no speakers on the infield. Like in Daytona, there's speakers around the
Mhm.
infield where you can hear, but if you don't have headphones or a scanner, you're not hearing anything. You can't even hear the national anthem on the infield, which is um, super lame. Like, and
What
I could go into a whole SMI rant here because the you know obviously at the when you're camping, you're using like their showers and stuff. The showers and the bathrooms are like from the 90s, and I don't think they've been updated in a very long time. Like the fucking shower curtains have like holes in them, and like it's just not great. I mean, it needs
Yeah.
it needs to be better. And then they don't have speakers, in the infield. I mean, it's how much does that cost, really? I mean, just
Well,
put some
I
new paint
I
on the
think
walls.
maybe they were, this kind of gets right into there's kind of a good segue right into the next segment we were going to talk about here was like, I feel like it's they may have put things just kind of on like a pause because the track was in such an unknown status for the
Yeah,
past 4 or 5 years of you know is Texas good, is Texas bad, like is like are people coming out, like they probably put pause on the stuff, but it's gotten better and now it's
definitely.
kind of getting its own identity, and maybe you'll see some of that stuff coming forward in the future. One of my questions that I had this week for you was Would you say that was a like Jeff Gluck does his poll, the good
Hmm.
race poll, and it made me think: was it a good race? Was it entertaining, or was it both? Because for me, I don't know necessarily that I would say it was a quote unquote good race. It was entertaining. It was very entertaining.
Yeah,
But the actual raceability of the track, you can't go too high in this turn because you're going to hit a bump and crash. You try to avoid dirty air, you're going to hit a bump and spin yourself out of the lead. Like things like that are not what genuinely, leads to what I would say is like good racing. You can't, it's hard to go side by side. You can't go do anything in turn one.
yeah,
So like that kind of stuff, obviously good racing, but it was very entertaining. I will say that.
yeah. I mean, I don't have it as a good race. That's obviously super subjective. For
Hmm.
me, a good race is where drivers have options and
Yep.
they can demonstrate their talent.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily
Passing and, is possible.
have to be the biggest like passing fest, but it needs to. You need to have there needs to be a race, and
Yeah.
I think if all that chaos doesn't happen, there's no race. Like the race
Yeah.
is get off pit road and be in front and dirty air. That's not a good race to me. I will say though, it was super entertaining. We had some people in our group that had never been to a race, and um, like some of our friends, they'll watch NASCAR with us. They're in like the fantasy league, so they watch here and there. But being at the race for the first time, it was super entertaining. And then like my dad, right? He's not super into NASCAR, so
Hmm.
it was entertaining from his perspective. He doesn't even watch week to week. Like, but if that race doesn't have those cautions, my dad is like not into it, surely, because
Yeah.
there's not much going on, right? There's no passes for the lead. There's very little tire strategy, but with all those
Yeah. There is
cautions
that.
and um, you had McDowell up there on two tires trying to defend the lead, and um, it was super entertaining. I will say it was great.
Yeah, it's so like in the big topic of the week from some of the other racing podcasts was like I found this interesting. I hadn't ever heard this before, but I think I heard a couple drivers saying that the track, while it looks grayer, it looks like it's aged. The pavement actually hasn't
Yeah,
aged, which I think is kind of interesting to me that that can happen. That the fact that sitting out in that heat and that sun, like typically those are the tracks that wear a lot, right?
yeah,
Your Phoenix and Auto Club wore a lot because it sits out in the California sun and heat. And for Texas to not wear down as much is kind of wild. Obviously
yeah,
it's kind of like a one lane track, but it's weird. Like you got to kind of wonder did all that freaking PJ1 extend the life of the surface a little bit? Like that, like what happened there? It's kind of weird. That was a big topic of the week that I thought was interesting, as well as the fact that a lot of drivers just kind of we saw a lot of single car spins and errors, man, and that's kind of something we don't usually see, especially in this car, which is so planted and close on speed.
yeah. The track was definitely a lot grayer. Like I got there before our whole group did, and I was just looking out on the track, and yeah, it's way grayer. The PJ1 is almost completely gone in one and two.
Yeah.
In
It
three and four,
looks
you can still
like
kind of see it, but
color wise, like the gray wise, it's starting to look like what old Atlanta looked like when it was
yeah,
getting old, right? Like it's starting to get that kind of gray and that thing down, but it's just because I noticed the same thing where it looks like it's getting aged, and I noticed all the PJ1 was gone, which just makes the track look better in general.
yeah,
And like that was the first thing that I thought. I was like, wow, this is starting to look like old Atlanta, man. Like with how gray and worn it looks, and then to hear that it's not actually worn at all, I thought that was interesting. Wanted to throw that in here and discuss that, but
yeah.
um, kind of crazy race with the fact that these guys can't race too far out of a lane. It seems like some of the other tracks, if you get out of a lane or you try something a little different, there's room and margin to correct yourself or catch yourself if you're making any errors. There's no room for catching yourself here. Like it was like inches off the line, you're immediately like in the trouble zone. So
Yeah,
um, hopefully that widens out. I mean, I think Texas is starting to get better. Um, and
it's definitely better.
yeah,
But I mean, I still think, I mean, I don't think they're gonna change anything with it.
I don't think they should. I think right now you leave it as it is because it's getting better.
It
A
has its
couple
own
years ago, I
identity.
would have been on board with, maybe, okay, we got to look at doing something in Texas
Yeah.
because the repave didn't work. But now I think you just got to leave it. I think you got to keep it what it is, let it continue to, become its own thing in age and drivers to figure out little things here and there. And I think it has a possibility to start being that mile and a half that's old and tough and challenging and I mean it's kind of like must see TV, right? So
Yeah.
um, that's yeah, interesting with that. So that led me to stealing an idea from a podcast I listened to. They have this game they play
Okay.
that I'm going to play with you where it's called Would You Rather. So
Okay.
the thing is what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you this is going to be a Texas edition. I'm going to give you two tracks
Okay.
and have you say, would you rather watch this race or this race? Given the current status of the next gen car, we'll say as of this year and the past races at these tracks, if you want to use those as most recent reference.
Okay.
Um, basically just saying Texas, what used to get shit. Basically, my idea here is Texas got shit on for so long.
It did.
And like just for so long, it just took the brunt of everything as being the worst track in the circuit, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of come out of that now.
Yeah.
So we'll start off here. Would you rather watch a race, Texas or Bristol?
Yeah. I
Purely from entertainment, and I want to see some entertainment, and doesn't necessarily whatever you consider entertaining, whether it's good race, whatever.
so I feel like this one's hard because like the people in
What's my
person at
goal?
the people in person at Bristol said that it wasn't that bad, but on
Yeah.
TV it was terrible. I feel like on TV this Texas race was not bad, and in person it wasn't bad. So I mean, I would rather see the race at Texas than Bristol this
Right?
season. I mean,
Right?
and that's not how it should be. But
Right?
um, I mean, yeah, the race at Bristol was not good at all. I mean, this it wasn't
Yeah.
good and it wasn't entertaining. The one at Texas, I don't think was a very good race, but it was at least entertaining. So, I mean,
Mm,
yeah, I guess
You know,
I don't know if I would literally ever say this, but I think yeah, at this point, I'd rather see a Texas race than a Bristol race.
perfect. This is only going to get more difficult. Would you rather watch a race, Texas or New Atlanta?
Oh, yeah, this is a tough spot for me because I don't really like super speedways in general, but Atlanta has been really good. I think
It
you'd have to
has.
pick
It's
Atlanta there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Atlanta for me as well. The first one was tough. I would honestly probably pick Texas over what I saw at Bristol a couple
yeah.
weeks ago. But Atlanta definitely. And then all right, last but not least, Texas or a road course race.
Ooh. So I mean, just so I went to the Coda race also, right? And I felt
Yeah.
like that was pretty good. Um,
That was a good race.
I think it's really track dependent. Like, I
Yeah,
think
I had Sonoma originally and then I just changed it to a road course race. So if I had
I
left it
was,
as Sonoma, I'd
yeah,
take Texas.
I was just fixing to bring up Sonoma because I feel like in this car, Sonoma is like extremely hard to pass.
Yeah.
Because there's like the car is so good and there's not a lot of like long straightaways into braking zones. So Sonoma is kind of it's it has not been a great track for the next gen, but I think there's more fun stuff to watch at a road course, like with the strategy and probably like long green flag runs, and I enjoy that in a road course race. So yeah, Texas, it's so it has been so frustrating to watch racing at Texas because
Yeah.
of how the turn one and two is, and even three and four with those bumps. It's like you really can't go side by side in most situations, and I feel a lot less frustrated watching a road course race. So I'll pick a
Yeah.
road course race
Okay.
in that
Yep. I
sense.
was
I'm
I was
obviously a little bit biased there. I really like road
yep.
course racing. A lot of people don't, but
I really wanted to pick some that was gonna be a little tough and a little biased, but that's like so that's what I'm getting. What I'm trying to just prove there is that look, man, Texas isn't as bad as it used to be. I don't think.
definitely
I
not.
think we both agree on that. I think
Yeah,
it's coming around, and it can put on a pretty good product, and give people what they want to see at a time where some of the other tracks in this series are a little frustrating. And you know what? I'll take a entertaining Texas race over some of the stuff that we have to watch
Yeah.
with how much this new car kind of struggles. So,
The last
um,
3 years at Texas have all three been super entertaining races. I mean,
yeah,
3 years ago,
yeah,
the moment I think of is like Bubba and Larson going for the lead late in the race on a restart,
yep,
and Larson gets loose underneath Bubba and crashes out. That was so dramatic. Um, and then last season, obviously, there was a ton of cautions and guys getting up in the bump and spinning, and this season was a lot like that as well. So
yeah,
there
yeah,
have been memorable races, and they've definitely been entertaining. And remembering the racing at Texas is huge because I'm not in the best state of mind, let's say, throughout them
yeah. Of
being at the
course,
track.
yeah, as you
So
should.
the
Yep.
fact that I can remember them is, I mean, that says something. Before 3 years ago, I don't remember any of the Texas races.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
Um,
yeah,
that's okay. Good. I appreciate you playing along there with that. I think that was
yeah,
a great success for whatever I consider a success. Just a couple other notes that I had really here. Everyone in the Penske camp has won a race except Blaney, who is the
mm,
maybe the best driver out of those four. Kind of interesting. I still think his time's going to come. He was my pick for last week, and he ran really well. He just didn't get it done there, but didn't have any bad luck or anything happen. So
yeah,
hopefully his luck's turning around. But yeah, kind of interesting that everyone, Cindric, Barry, Logano have all won, and Blaney's still winless while he is clearly the fastest car. I mean, I
yeah,
did honestly, it looks like Blaney and Cindric have been the two fastest. I wouldn't even put Logano up there yet. I know he's had
no,
decent finishes and whatnot, but Cindric shows a lot of speed week to week, which makes me happy as a Cindric fan to finally
yeah,
see them start to find some speed, and maybe him just to start getting the experience that he needed to in the Cup Series. They always say it takes a couple years to figure that stuff out.
yeah,
So, maybe he's had his couple years and he's starting to run well. So I'm hoping for the best there with that. But yeah, Blaney, you got to get one, man.
yeah. And I think it's been a weird season for Penske because they usually don't come out of the gate this hot. I mean, they've been
Yeah,
they've been running really well.
they really
So I'm
have.
I'm
They've been
interested to
some of the
see.
best cars when it comes to passing and just overall speed
Yeah,
and qualifying. They're always really good. Like they've got a lot of things figured out, and have wins for everybody except for Blaney. So and I think we both agree he'll get one. It's
yeah,
just a matter of
definitely.
when and where. But he's got the speed and the ability this year to go get one. So that
He's
was one
he's
thing I
been
kind of wanted to just point out.
he's been putting himself in position. It just hasn't worked out. And I did want to give a shout out to Logano. I think a lot of people know I'm not the biggest Logano fan. Um,
Hmm.
but the move he made on McDowell was electric.
Yeah,
Like,
it was sick.
I mean, I was sitting there. We had just gone up to stand like right by the backstretch for that final little section, and
God, they
I
just
was
about
just
drove
like,
down and hit you guys down there
yeah. I
when
mean,
McDowell blocked him.
literally, that's what I said. I was like, dude, McDowell drove him to the campground, and Logano was having none of it. I mean, he just all the way off the apron. Um, I think he had four tires and McDowell only had two, but even
Yeah.
still, I mean, that was a sick move, and I mean, it's textbook Logano. I mean, just give him a chance, and he's gonna go up there and steal one. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean that I still am not a Logano fan by any means, but that was a sweet move. And he gets
I've
his first top five of the season with it.
That's crazy. I've seen a lot of memes ripping Michael McDowell for that, which I am totally against because they make the memes of like, oh, make a bad block and then just like ruin your own race. Like that's okay, whatever. But like in that position, I mean, what is he supposed to do? I
Yeah,
mean, like he's on two tires. He blocked him. If anything, he was just trying to give him a weird entry to the corner and hope for the best, right?
yeah,
And then it just didn't work out for him because then he got all out of sorts, got all kinds of loose, and then eventually, what happened happened. But
yeah. That was
I
so
can't fault
dramatic
Mick.
too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't fault him for that. You're two tires. You're trying to hold this guy off. You're trying to go win a race and
he was going for it.
get that get Spire a win. In your first year with him. So. Uh, Shout out to McDowell for that. I will do the opposite of rip him for that. I'll credit him for trying and being up there. and doing all he could to hold up a car that was inevitably going to pass him. But he tried to hold his ground for a little bit, and I can't fault the guy for that.
Yeah, and I mean the him spinning out and hitting the wall kind of just further proves the point of like how hard he was going, right? I mean, he was over the limit, and
Yeah,
obviously he gets up in the wall and
that guy needs to just stay away from turns 1 and 2 at
yeah.
Texas, man.
Yeah.
Take some big hits in that part of the track. Jeez.
Yeah, and last season he was going for the win too and spun out in 3 and 4. But yeah, I mean I think he kind of has the tendency to drive over his head a little bit, which in the equipment he's in, he kind of is put in that position where he needs to. But
Yeah.
yeah, hell of an effort, and hopefully they can get back up there, you know, later in the season and grab a win because McDowell is not in a good points position to make it on points,
No,
so he's going to need a
not at
win.
all. But we know he's a good super speedway racer and obviously road courses as well. He hasn't been as strong with this car on the road courses. Well, I guess he did dominate that Indy race
Yeah,
now that I think about it.
yeah,
But yeah, so he's always a chance to get something there. Someone to keep an eye on. I think he's been the best Spire car. I mean, I know Hosevar's had speed, but he can't get an entire race together or stop from treating real life like iRacing and wrecking other people. So,
yeah.
I think if he can settle down and maybe learn a lesson, he can, find that speed and get it. But I mean, I think McDowell, consistency wise, has probably been the best Spire car just because he's there getting the finishes. May not be up there mixing it up like Carson has been, but he's been there, getting some sort of a decent
I
result. I don't know. So
I tell you what,
whatever. Good try by him.
I said McDowell wasn't in a good points position, but he is he's 26 points off the cut line, and I think he probably lost about 26 points with that wreck at
Okay,
least.
so
So if he
that's
if he comes
that's
home third there, I mean he's ahead of Hosevar, and he's probably
yeah,
ahead of Kyle Busch, and he's probably in 17th. So
yeah,
um yeah, I don't
yeah. And
know.
like the overall points, he's only 5 points behind Hosevar in overall points. So
Yeah,
um,
if he
that's
doesn't wreck there, he's 14
yeah,
points behind Kyle Busch, who's in 17th. So if he doesn't wreck there, he's in 17th.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Just
so
bringing home like in second or third. He might have lost another spot to Blaney on the finish there, but he would have at worst been in the top five.
yeah, but I mean, to the point of him not probably being able to point his way in, I know Jeff Gluck mentioned it on his show when he talked to McDowell. McDowell was like, "No, we're gonna have a lot more fluke winners, and points are not an option for us." So that's how he was going
Yeah,
into that race. He
yeah,
figured points
absolutely.
weren't an option, and I mean, let's
I
say
get
you
it.
got to get up
You
to
know,
like you got to get up to 11th or 12th in points. I mean, you're still in a much better position if you finish third there. I mean, you just
yeah,
by
yeah.
going
Every
over your
every
head and wrecking, you've taken away an option.
yeah, and that's like my biggest thing. Like I don't necessarily like hate the whole playoff idea and system as much as I personally don't like the winning you're in thing because I think winning you're in more than the playoffs. I think the winning you're in thing creates this idea of point racing isn't as important as it used to be, right? If
Yeah,
if if a win got you like a playoff point and big bundle of points, that's great. But like the fact that you're winning you're in is what makes everybody just go for it and just lay it all on the line and like, oh well, we didn't win this week, we'll come back next week and try to do something insane to go get a win then as well. Whereas like, look, if you just won but it didn't lock you in and you just took the top 16, one, you would have the best 16 drivers in the playoffs in points.
yep,
If you just took 16 based off points, no winning you're in. And then also you don't put people in these positions where like, like what was it the year that was I guess it was 2 years ago where it was like Blaney and Truex, they were both sixth in points and they're racing
yeah,
for the last playoff spot. Like that, I'm not a fan of that. So
yeah,
that's just my quick rant of what I was thinking about the playoffs over the weekend while I was listening to Gluck and them talk about how point racing doesn't really carry the same weight as it used to. Um, I think without completely trashing their system, that's my theory on how to get point racing back to being important is just get rid of the winning you're in. Like let guys go out and if you win a race, that's awesome. Good for you. It helps you in the points, but the more important thing is the points. So
yeah,
that is a quick playoff rant to replace the Fox rant that I don't have. I don't really have a Fox rant this week. Wasn't that bad, dude?
yeah.
Um,
Tell me about the broadcast, like, because I obviously didn't
look,
see it, but
It, it wasn't terrible. I did, it felt like just your normal run of the mills commercial wise. I didn't have anything like insane happen. I feel like they got absolutely ripped last week at Dega for their two late commercials. So I
That
feel like
was
they avoided that as much
ridiculous.
as they could.
I'm still
They
pissed
also had
off
plenty
about
of
that.
cautions. They had plenty of cautions to get those commercials in. I think what also happened at Dega was that they were anticipating saving some of those commercials for Carnage, and they didn't get
Yeah.
anything, and so they had to get them in. And so this one, there was a bunch of that Carnage at the end. They were able to satisfy their sponsors and get those commercials up. So, I don't have anything crazy to say about commercials because it was just normal under caution commercials, which are fine
Sure.
with me.
Yeah.
So, but like, I don't know how much the new guy now it's official that we had the new director in, I think, and I don't know how much it played into
I
it.
think
I
it's a
didn't see a
lady.
ton of like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't now I trust her even more actually now
Yeah.
knowing that. I didn't see a lot of like dumb zoomed in shots. I didn't see a lot of cuts to stuff that didn't matter while like actual cool stuff was happening. Nothing like that really pissed me off. I've said it before, the chemistry in the booth is a little weird still, but I think you and I were talking about this briefly that Mike Joyce seems to they may have said something like, "Hey, can you like be excited
He kicked it up a
while you're
notch.
doing this job or something?" Yeah,
Yeah.
like can you act like you give a shit? Um, but yeah, no Fox rant really this week. I didn't I didn't hate it. I'll
O-
leave it at that. I
On
won't
the
say it was great,
yeah,
but I
on the
didn't
topic
hate the broadcast.
of Mike Joy being more exciting, I saw the most brain dead take on Twitter yesterday because they were going over the moment where Kyle Busch spun and Mike Joy was like, "No, Kyle Busch spins and he's into the wall." And people were like, "Oh, Mike Joy definitely had money on Kyle Busch." Like, dude, what?
Dude, what?
What are you talking about? And
Dude,
there were multiple
not
people
everything is about
agreeing with this
gambling.
person. Honestly, like,
It's crazy to
how
me. I
about
think, you know,
he wants Kyle Busch to win because he hasn't won in forever. He wants a good story. Like, he's known Kyle Busch for freaking 25 years
his
probably at
entire
this point.
career,
Like,
yeah, right?
so I just yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was so brain dead of a take.
Well,
You'll have that
whatever.
on
Do you
Twitter.
have any do you have any other Texas stuff? I'm running a little short on time. We'll talk about Kansas real quick. I know you're going to that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna be camping in the tents this time, not in the infield. We'll be in the grandstands, which I'm super excited for to get a good vantage point on how great the racing has been there.
Yeah, awesome
Yeah,
track. I'm
we can
excited
go
for
into
you.
Kansas. I think who was your pick for Texas? Mine was Ty Gibbs, I think, or Christopher Bell.
I think I picked Blaney.
Yeah, and you were close.
Yep.
So this will be the last round of the practice round for our predictions.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just yeah, I don't know. I think Kansas has been pretty unpredictable lately. I felt like early in the next gen era the Toyotas were super dominant, but they've kind of not been as of late, I feel
Yeah,
like.
this was like 2311 Speedway for a couple years, but they
Yeah.
missed last year. They missed a little bit, and those guys weren't as good as they had been in the past.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
interesting to keep an eye on there.
I'll you won with Blaney, let's say. So I'll
Yeah,
let you go first.
technically. Uh, um, I want to say that 2311 comes back. I want to pick Bubba
I'm
bounce
kind of
back from a
feeling that
tough
too,
race.
man.
Yeah, but I also
Cuz they've been good
I
this
don't know.
season. They were good at
Yeah,
Homestead.
yeah, they were good at Texas. Yeah, fuck it, give me Bubba.
Okay. Yeah, now it's like do I pick the other 2311 car, the only other 2311 car, because the other one's been nowhere. Um, yeah, no, Riley Herbst gets his first win. Um,
There it is. Book it. No, I'm just kidding.
I am. I'll take. I'll take Chris Buescher.
Okay, lost in the photo finish last year.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
He's
That team's been questionable. Brad's having a terrible season. That team's been just
yeah,
questionable.
but Buescher and Priest I feel like have ran pretty good. Priest has had some bad luck, but Buescher's up
Yeah,
there in the playoffs. So um, yeah, a little bit of redemption. I'm gonna go for Buescher.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Busher and Bubba. It's a good picks for the weekend, and we'll check back in last week, see how we did. And then yeah, we'll start officially keeping track. I'll make a little spreadsheet. We'll keep track of this stuff
Cool.
after the All-Star break.
I like it.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I hope Kansas is a good race.
I think you're gonna have fun, man. I'll be keeping an eye on more of the Fox broadcast and have more to report. Hopefully, maybe just maybe before they're gone, we could have a positive
mm,
Fox rant. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. They were training. Like I said, it was good. It wasn't bad. We'll see if they can get a positive Fox rant out of me. They got a pretty neutral one out of me today. So
let's see. I hope to see it. I want them to be good. It's just oftentimes
me
they're
too.
not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Leave a like, leave a review. Hope you guys enjoy. I know me and Ben really enjoy getting together and talking about all this stuff every week. So hope you all enjoy it,
Absolutely.
and we will catch you next week. See you.
Later.